Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a phenomenal Thursday. With that being said, I know I talked about and I previewed and I even posted that Zaquan Moses was going to be on the show tonight. That has been rescheduled. We're working on negotiating another day that's going to work out best for him, probably sometime next week. So he will be on the show in the near future. Once again, we'll be making his return back to the show, and I'll be announcing that when it does come to fruition. But for tonight, something's came up. He will not be able to be on the show tonight. But it does not mean we're not going to have a great show today, because we've got lots of stuff to get into today, including a fight preview for what's going to be going down tomorrow. And then also I'll be getting into some boxing news as well. Lots of news came out over the past 24 hours. So all of those things will be getting discussed throughout the duration of tonight's show. With that being said, though, as always, if there are any comments, questions, topics, or whatever the case may be that you guys want me to address on tonight's show, make sure you'll leave it in the chat. I will be keeping the chat active tonight and answering all questions that you guys have throughout the duration of tonight's show. All right. I'm going to make sure we got audio working right tonight. Let's see what we got. All right, we're good to go. So with that being said, though, if you guys have any comments, topics, whatever you guys want me to address on tonight's show, leave it in the chat, and I'll make sure to address that as we go throughout tonight's show. But without further ado, let's get right to it. Tomorrow, there is going to be I'm going to give you guys a fight preview because there's going to be a card going down tomorrow in the UK on obviously a Friday. Now, for those of you tuning in that are in the United States of America, you might not be too intrigued in this card because it's a lot of British fighters, young up-and-coming prospects. So if you're not familiar with who's going to be fighting this card, let me give you guys a little preview of who these guys are, because if I were you and you had some time, I would make sure to check out some of these guys because there are some great young talents going down tomorrow on the card. I'm going to start with none other than Adam Pacquiao. He is fighting Juan Alberto Batista in a 4-round super bantamweight fight. Adam Pacquiao is a man that is very, very young, just 18 years old, continuing to skyrocket. He's got a bright, bright, bright future. This fight should be over in 1 or 2 rounds. I've loved what I've seen from him so far since he's turned pro this year. He's a good matchroom signing right there. He is somebody to certainly keep an eye on. Now, this is multiple years down the road, but when I look at Adam Pacquiao, this is a man that I'd keep you guys' eyes on. He's going to be a very entertaining fighter. Go check it out. It's only a 4-round fight, but I do expect that fight to not go too long. Then, Taylor Bevan. He's going to be fighting Lucas Fernandez, 8-round fight here at super middleweight. This is another man. He's been on the show before, guys. Go check out that interview if you guys like. It's on my YouTube channel. Great guy. He is also a young, up-and-coming prospect from Great Britain. He is a guy to certainly keep an eye on as well. Extremely talented. I think he's going to get an early stoppage win in this fight as well. It will be scheduled for 8 rounds, but I think it will be an early stoppage, so make sure to keep your eyes on him as well. In the co-main event slot, Jimmy Sains versus Troy Coleman. This is a 10-round middleweight fight. I really like this fight. A step-up fight for Jimmy Sains, who, if you're not familiar with him, once again, a good rising prospect coming out of GB. This is a man that knows what he's doing. He's a solid fighter. Troy Coleman is an experienced fighter, so it's a good opportunity for Jimmy Sains, a step up in competition, where, just to give you guys a little preview, I think Jimmy Sains will be a guy competing for the British-type titles within the next couple of years, so he is certainly somebody to keep an eye on. But if you have time, make sure to watch the main event tomorrow, which is going to be between Kieron Conway and George Liddard. This is a 12-round fight for Conway's British and Commonwealth middleweight titles. All right. I just want to make this very clear. Once again, George Liddard has been on this show before. Great guy. He's previewing his previous fight when he came on the show last. Hopefully he can get back on the show again in the future. But this is a man who I truly do believe has a chance to be one of the next stars coming out of Great Britain. And I'm going to be very, very clear about this. I love what this man brings to the table. Listen, I get it. Kieron Conway is another good fighter. If you've not seen him, very solid fighter. I like what he brings to the table. He's a good fighter. But here's my take on this. If you're asking for my prediction, I'm going to go with George Liddard tomorrow. As I said, this is a young, rising star in Great Britain. When we talk about the next era of British stars, I know this is getting a little bit ahead of myself. I know he's still a little bit ways out from reaching that place, but I'm just looking at the future of Great Britain boxing. Obviously, we have big questions. What happens post Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury? That is those are massive shoes to fill. Obviously, we know Mosi Toma is going to be up there. Obviously, we know Ben Whitaker's in the mix. You could say Daniel Dubois, Nick Ball. There are guys there, but we're looking under 25 years old. If you ask me some guys I really like, I think George Liddard's right up in that group. I love what he brings to the table, and I think when he gets the spotlight behind his name, he is going to be able to attract a lot of people because he has a great personality as well. So yes, I am riding with the young guy tomorrow. I think George Liddard will go out there, make a statement, and when I come back on the show, let me think. It will be, I'm not sure when I do the show tomorrow, so either it will be a Monday show or if I do a show after the fight, I think I will be able to talk about why I believe George Liddard will officially solidify what I just said as being one of the next stars in Great Britain boxing. I think he will hold the British and Commonwealth middleweight titles tomorrow. I think he is going to put on an incredible display. So if I were you, I know the UK fan base, you guys are going to be watching this fight already. I know that. But I'm talking about my American people tuning into this, or even Australia, wherever you guys are tuning in from. If you guys want to see potentially one of the next stars coming out of Great Britain, make sure to watch this fight. It's not a pay-per-view. It's none of that. It's just on DAZN. Go out there and watch Kieron Conway, George Liddard, 12-round fight for the British and Commonwealth titles, because I do believe that you're going to see a man, George Liddard, who, let me call it 18 to 24 months, you will be seeing him on the world stage. He's going to grab these 2 titles tomorrow in my eyes, and I think you're going to continue to develop, defend those belts for a little bit, and within the next 18 to 24 months, he will be in the top 15 rankings and at least a couple of the commissioning bodies, and he'll be working his way up the world title level. So he is something to keep an eye on because he will be a world-level fighter, I believe, in the future. That's what I've got for the fight preview going down tomorrow in the UK. As I said, it will be going down on DAZN, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to give you guys a recap of it after the fight or if it'll be on Monday show. Depends on when I get the show live tomorrow. But that's what I've got. Going to the comment section real quickly. I'm going to pull up what we got right here. I see someone's in the show. Let me pull up the comment real quickly. There we go. Yes, sir. You got George Liddard you're rocking with Conway. And, oh, you think Conway will school Liddard? Really? I want to hear your thoughts a little bit more on that. What's your thoughts on that? Because, obviously, I said, I do like Kieron Conway. I just don't think he's going to be at the level of George Liddard. Let me know your guys' thoughts, though. I'm all for disputing this one. I get George Liddard as a young guy. I know Kieron Conway is much more established, much more of a veteran. I do love George Liddard in my eyes. I think it could be close in the eyes. I do have Liddard, as I said, though, but also the betting odds do favor George Liddard at this point in time. I'm not sure if it's shifted recently, but yes, as of today, George Liddard does have it. But I appreciate you tuning in here. Home wreck knee knocker. Appreciate that, man. All right, so let's get right back to what I want to get into as well. There is some boxing news that I've got to get into, all right? And I'll be quite frankly honest with you guys. I'm disappointed when I'm about ready to report to you guys. So let's rewind time. I think it was July is when this news came out that there was going to be this new situation where Turki Al-Sheikh, obviously backing the Ring magazine and Ring events, was negotiating with DAZN to the point where there was no longer going to be pay-per-view events. And I was skeptical of this because I knew there was other rumors going down as to this mysterious package deal you'd have to pay to get these pay-per-view fights that you're still paying for, whatever. And now he said that was going to happen for the November 22nd card. No more pay-per-views, you're not going to pay for it. Well, what happens today is this. We've now learned that that pay-per-view fight between David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde will in fact be a pay-per-view. It'll be available to be purchased for $24.99 in the UK and $59.99 in the US. I'm confused on this. Now, let me make this very clear to begin with. I'm not going to complain about the price too much. When we talk about modern day boxing, these pay-per-view prices are ridiculous. We just ended the Sebastian Fundora, Keith Thurman card. That was going to be for $80 or $90 or something along those lines for a not good card whatsoever. This is a beautiful boxing card right here. So is $60 the worst price in the world for this level of a card? No. But as I've always said, I'm going to say it one more time. When are we going to realize how badly pay-per-view is killing boxing? It is. I get there's a business side of boxing, but guess what? Sometimes in life, you have to make adjustments to go with the modern day business scheme. Boxing refuses to do that. They're still stuck 15 to 20 years in the past when pay-per-view eras were successful. In today's world, all it's doing is hindering the sport. You look at UFC and Dana White. Even Dana White was doing TKO in Zuffa Boxing. He's going with Paramount. That is a nationally broadcasted TV channel where everybody in the world can watch it. What we're currently doing right now is we're placing this pay-per-view events, and guess what? As I say time and again, all people are going to do is watch the fight if they know the fighters or if they are a diehard boxing fan. You cannot grow the sport with pay-per-view events on every single fight that's even somewhat notable. You can't. For any casual fan going back to the 80s and 90s, whatever it might have been, you could flip through your TV, you could go watch a fight, and you would fall in love with the sport that way. You can't do that anymore. You have to go out there and pay an outlandish price, even $60. If you have not watched boxing, if you're not familiar with David Benavidez, Devin Haney, Anthony Yarde, one of those types of guys, you're not going to go out there and just throw $60 on the counter. In today's economy in place, you're not going to do that. And so how do you possibly grow the sport of boxing? Well, we're seeing the results right now. You don't. The sport of boxing, at least in America specifically, is dwindling very, very quickly to the point where I know this is a controversial statement I'm about ready to make, that the UFC and MMA is inching closer and closer to surpassing boxing to a certain extent. Yet, we see it though. When you do have boxing available to the public, a la what we saw with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, what we saw with Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, what we're going to go out there and witness with Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, when you have fights available, the audience follows. But you're not going to grab an audience when you're charging outlandish amounts of money. It's ridiculous. And so from my eyes, I look at this and I'm disappointed on two fronts. First of all, when is boxing going to learn? When are we going to get to a time span where people finally will just get rid of this dumb pay-per-view era? Certain fights, sure. There are certain big events that you can have pay-per-views, but having it where you have anywhere from around 10 pay-per-views a year is ridiculous. Cut it out. But the second part I want to make to that is this. Why are they lying? Turki Al-Sheikh made a comment and said it very clearly, pay-per-view era is done with my events. Obviously it's not done. You're still paying for it. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't get this whatsoever. I'm disappointed in the event. I'm disappointed that this news came to be, and I think it's just going to continue to push boxing further and further back. It is what it is. Now, here's the back portion to this. DAZN will be launching the Ring Pass in November. Now, this is that mysterious package deal I was referring to that we didn't know what it was. Now we have more insight. Now, we don't have the price for that ring package, but here's some details on it. DAZN will announce a new premium subscription in November, which will include all pay-per-view events. These are expected to be around 15 pay-per-view events annually that will be included in the new subscription, including BENAVIDEZ-YARDE. Okay, so I'm not sure what this is going to be, all right? It's intriguing to me to see what this is going to look like, but essentially it looks like this. You will have an option to pay for pay-per-view events, or you make this big bundle package deal, and you're going to get all the pay-per-view events moving forward. Obviously, you're still paying money to go out there and watch it. Now, let me make this clear. It all hinders on how much this package is. If this package is going to be a massive, massive price, then guess what? To be quite frankly honest with you, it eliminates the point of not doing the pay-per-views. If it is something that's financially feasible for the majority of people around the world, it makes a lot more sense. So I'm not sure what's going to happen right now, but all I can say is this. Getting the news today that Turki Al-Sheikh is not going to stay true to the word and not have the pay-per-view events go down as planned by eliminating them is disappointing. It's going to hurt boxing, and I don't know why these people are not going to learn it. And this is a boxing problem at large. Obviously, the reason I'm throwing shots at Turki Al-Sheikh right now and DAZN is because they're the ones that promised us that this was going to be over with. You still have to put blame on Premier Box PBC. You still have to put on Top Rank. You still have to put on all these different people because they're also doing pay-per-view events. As I just said, the whole Keith Thurman and Sebastian Fundora card that was going to be $80 or $90, absolutely outlandish as well. When boxing get together and realize that the pay-per-view era is over with, that's the day boxing can continue to progress forward. And hopefully, I'll be honest with you, the only guy I have true confidence in at truly eliminating the pay-per-view era is Dana White. And I know it's controversial. I'm not a fan of everything he's doing in boxing right now. But if he can at least get his Paramount deal secure, which he has, and there will no longer be pay-per-view events in that regard, at least he's doing the right thing in that regard. Hopefully other promoters will follow in those footsteps. I'm just looking at the pros right now. He's the only guy that's really trying to make this pay-per-view era be done with. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's very disappointing when I thought this era was going to be over with. All right, I'm going to go to the comment section real quickly, and then we'll get back into more topics right here. Going to this one, home wrecked knee knockers. Here we go right now. Let's see what we got. I'll pull it up. There we go. Conway is better than you think, and Liddard isn't as good as you think. These are my thoughts. That's fair enough. I completely can get that right now. It makes plenty of sense right there. I will say this, though. I do like Conway. I've seen him. I like the way he fights a lot. I just think George Liddard is a very underrated fighter. I'm a big fan of him. But like I said, this is something where I can totally see Conway going out there. He does have the experience. He is underrated in that sense, without a shadow of a doubt. I just really like George Liddard, but I'll be interested. Hopefully tune back in. I don't know if, like I said, if I'll be live on Friday or Monday, but let's talk about it. See who ends up winning that fight. I'll tune in there. But appreciate you for commenting and checking in on the show. Home wrecked knee knocker. All right, let's see what we got right here. Let's pull up this one now. CHKMA. Let's see what we got. Guess who owns Ring Magazine? Oh, yeah, obviously I know who that one is. Turkey Al Sheik. All right, let's pull up the next one. Zuffa Boxing 12 events on Paramount Plus next year. Exactly. Now, the only reason I would say that is that it's not going to be pay-per-view event. And what I'm excited about that is that the package, the Paramount Plus deal, as far as what we know right now, I don't know if the price will jump up drastically in 2026 because of the fact that we're going to have, obviously, the UFC is going full on to Paramount Plus, as is boxing now, at least Zuffa Boxing. If that Paramount Plus package jumps significantly, if it sticks at what it's at right now for Paramount Plus, that's going to be a bargain. I'm fine paying a certain subscription fee, which is what you typically would have done back in history when you just talk about buying TV channels and whatnot. And on top of that, the price will be much less. And Paramount is obviously a significantly larger company than DAZN is. More and more people have Paramount. It also, some fights will be broadcasted up onto CBS Sports and stuff along those lines. So lots of good things in that regard. But yes, at the end of the day, I'm a big advocate. The pay-per-view era needs to come to a conclusion. We need to wrap it up. I appreciate you for tuning in, man. Hopefully all is well as well. All right, let's get back into some other boxing topics that I currently have planned for you guys. This is a rumor report. Now, I can't confirm this. This is not anything that's been accurately described from DAZN, Matchroom, or Ring Boy or Oscar De La Hoya. But DAZN, this is rumors. Don't quote this on me. But DAZN executives are all in on the idea of Jerome Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz and are now targeting Cinco de Mayo weekend of 2026 in Las Vegas. Sources also mentioned they are looking to put on an appetizing undercard to support the main event. Now, this is coming off of X. Not going to say it's pound for pound is who put it out there on X. Not going to say it's officialized yet. But what I will say is this. The reason I'm putting this on today's show is it makes sense. Listen, when we're talking about big fights, Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis are both in similar situations. Now, Virgil has a little bit better resume. Obviously, I like the Sarabochuk fight, those type of things. But both guys don't have those signature wins. And at the same time, we've pinned those two guys against each other now for what? 2 years, 3 years, whatever it's been. They've been pinned against each other for a long time. I think both parties are well aware that they need to make this fight happen. They need it. This fight must go down. They need to fight each other. And if it makes a lot of sense, and Canelo Alvarez is not fighting on Cinco de Mayo weekend next year due to this injury, then that opens the door for Virgil Ortiz to be that Mexican fighter fighting on Cinco de Mayo weekend. You fight Jerome Boots Ennis, Mexico versus America, essentially. It would be a mega, mega fight. It makes plenty of sense. Both guys should be more than ready for that fight because obviously Boots Ennis fought this past weekend. Virgil will fight November 8th. And so both guys would have plenty of time to recover, get healthy, and make that fight happen. Hopefully, that is what goes down. But yes, Cinco de Mayo weekend, the DAZN executives are reportedly all in on Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz. IBF orders PARO-DONOVAN. The IBF has ordered its number 2 and 3 contenders at welterweight, Liam Paro and Patty Donovan, to meet in a final eliminator to determine Lewis Crocker's next mandatory. All right. Per IBF rules, it's a 75-25 split in favor of Paro at purse bids. All right. Isn't this interesting? All right, let me lay this out for you guys real quickly. So, a lot of people are wondering, how did Patty Donovan get right back into a title eliminator situation, essentially? Well, let's be honest. Patty Donovan was robbed against Lewis Crocker. I don't think anybody's going to debate that. I think we can all look at this quite confidently and say this. Patty Donovan won that fight. Yeah, he got dropped twice. But what about the rest of the fight? Just going to point that out there. However, I think this fight would be phenomenal. I think Patty Donovan is a solid fighter. Now, he did disappoint me. Lewis Crocker did look 10 times better than I ever expected against Patty Donovan. So I'm not sure where Patty Donovan will be at right here, and also the way he's going to fight in the ring. But listen, Patty Donovan Lewis versus Liam Paro would be a great fight. The most intriguing thing here I listed, though, is this. The winner would be able to be the next mandatory for Lewis Crocker. Meaning, we hypothetically could be in a scenario where we have Crocker, Donovan 3. Wouldn't that be something? Not saying a lot of people want it out there, but we very well could be placed in a position where you have Patty Donovan versus Lewis Crocker, number 3 go down. A trilogy would be interesting. But I do favor Liam Paro if he's healthy against Patty Donovan. I think Liam Paro is the better fighter. I like the way he looks. Even though it was a disappointing performance his last fight when he got hurt, I do still like Liam Paro. I think he's a very excellent fighter as well. Announced, Kubrat Pulev. He is going to be making his return to the ring and defend his WBA regular heavyweight. Why does the WBA... Okay, let me just point this real quickly. Why does the WBA have so many dang titles? We have the regular, the interim, we have the main. It's just ridiculous. That's a side note there. But Kubrat Pulev will defend his WBA regular heavyweight belt against Murat Gassiev on December 12th in Dubai, UAE. All right. You know what's funny about that? What did I say on yesterday's show? It was that Mosi Toma and Kubrat Pulev were set to fight each other. That was what they were mandated to do, the regular fight and the interim. All right, so now what happens? Well, now Mosi Toma, who was already rumored to be fighting December 13th, well, now he has a situation where the man he probably was going to fight is now fighting December 12th in Dubai. Why not fight each other? Now, Itoma would have destroyed Kubrat Pulev, but very interesting news right there. So that means that Mosi Toma does not have the opportunity anymore. That order that went through does not matter anymore because Kubrat Pulev obviously already had this fight lined up, or he declined that and took this route. I don't know what it was, but one of those two options happened. That means that Mosi Toma still doesn't have an opponent for December 13th. Makes you wonder what's going to happen in Manchester at that point in time. The rumors have always been that Itoma was going to headline, Chisora was going to be co-main event. Now it makes you wonder, does Chisora's headline December 13th card in Manchester? It's his official final farewell fight, his 50th and grand finale, hopefully in Zhili Zhang. I don't know what's going to happen, but yes, that's now what's in store today. Andy Cruz versus Raymond Murtaya bids have been delayed. The Murtaya-Andy Cruz IBF lightweight title fight purse bids have been delayed until October 23rd, according to reports. All right, not a big deal. This is actually good news. Now, the delay typically scares some people, but according to reports and what's believed is that they are nearing a deal very, very closely. They're pushing it back so they can get the deal finalized. I do expect this fight to now happen. I think the rumors that were coming out saying that Murtaya was going to vacate are no longer true. However, I do think he was considering it, but that is his value. Murtaya does not have a lot of value outside of that belt he currently holds. Therefore, I think this makes plenty of sense. Make the fight happen. It would be a good one. All right, now we already discussed the pay-per-view situation. Let's go down to this portion. The Frazer Clarke-Jeamie TKV British heavyweight title fight will now take place on November 29th following an injury to TKV, which has forced the postponement of the first boxing BBC show from October 25th. All right, this was the rumor yesterday. It's now confirmed. The only part I'm going to bring up about this situation is this aspect. November 29th, Ben Whitaker makes his matchroom debut. November 29th, Frazer Clarke-Jeamie TKV makes their BBC boxer debut. It's going to be interesting. How do those two compete with each other? Obviously, Ben Whitaker, left boxer, left Ben Shalom, now with Matchroom. Very interesting to keep that eyes there. But yes, both fights will be going down the same day now, and it'll be interesting to see who does better numbers. SCS wins the CBS interim title purse bid. UF Stainforth of SCS Promotions as the lone bidder has won the purse bids for the Chris Billam-Smith Roman Fresh WBO interim cruiserweight title fight with an offer of $156,921. The proposed date is January 14th, and the split is 60-40. All right, there it is. Nobody wants this fight. Not sure how many people really care about it, but Chris Billam-Smith Roman Fresh is officially on. There it is. Anderson Silva will face Chris Weidman to open the Netflix main card, topped by Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis exhibition match. All right. Very interesting news. So this was the big news that Nikisa and Most Valuable Promotions was hyping up on yesterday. They were talking about the fact that this was going to be a big announcement. Who is it? Well, if you're not a MMA fan, you don't know who these two guys are. Anderson Silva is one of the all-time MMA greats. Chris Weidman has a great career as well. These two guys will be scoring off in the ring to open up the main event or main card of the MVP card featuring Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. Great addition to the card. Will bring in a lot more fans from the MMA world. Great matchmaking idea right here by MVP and Netflix. IBF welterweight world champion Lewis Crocker's manager, Jamie Conlon, has reached out to Manny Pacquiao's team about potential fight with the Filipino icon. This is getting hilarious. I've said this before, but I'm just going to reiterate it. Manny Pacquiao is trying to accomplish by becoming the oldest world champion ever at the welterweight division. And thankfully, he's in a point in time where the 147-pound weight class is not only the weakest it has ever been in the history of the 147-pound weight class, but also it might just be one of the worst weight classes we've ever seen. It is abysmal. I mean, when we talk about it, Mario Barrios is probably the worst world champion in all boxing. And then you can make a case that Lewis Crocker is right up there with him. And Rolly Romero, he's not one of the worst. He's probably somewhere in the middle, but he's just a fine world champion. Then obviously you have Brian Norman or Devin Haney, whoever wins that November 22nd card. Right now is Brian Norman Jr. That's fine. But still, welterweight is a train wreck right now. And Manny Pacquiao has a golden amount of opportunities here. He could beat Mario. He beat Mario Barrios. Let me make that clear. He can beat Rolly Romero, and he most certainly can beat Lewis Crocker as well. So if you're Manny Pacquiao, you're at a point in time right now where you're just looking at all your options. You're weighing who can pay you the most, and then you're hopefully going to go become the oldest world champion at welterweight in the history of boxing. Manny Pacquiao is sitting real good right now. Great opportunity for him. I'll be interested to see who he does fight. I thought it was going to be announced as Raleigh, but obviously there are options on the table, which is very intriguing news right there. So with that being said, I don't see any more comments in the comment section. I do appreciate each and every single one of you guys for tuning in today's show. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of you guys' day. I will be back live tomorrow. Not sure what time it will be. Probably more so in the evening again. But with that being said, I will see you guys back live tomorrow. And Zaquan Moses will be back on the show next week sometime. We'll get that announced later on. But I do appreciate you guys all for tuning in. May God bless you guys all. Have a blessed rest of you guys' night. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless you guys all, and SchuZ out.